Hey guys, King of Charmaz here. Today I'll be a judge, your jury, and your analyst. And today we are going to analyze this happy hamster chickmunk thingy called Greedent. So Greedent and all the other Galarian Pokemon, their stats were inserted into the Game Master. So with that being said, we can now analyze all of Gen 8. Now since Greedent actually came out not too long ago, it's actually meta for one, well, I wouldn't say meta, but like anti-meta for one particular league, which is Open Ultra League. Surprisingly, this thing literally core breaks Swampert, Giratina, and Cresselia. So it's like ridiculously good. Well, for those particular mons, and I'm going to go deeper into it of why it's also kind of bad. Now, Greedent has really good stats. What makes it really powerful is its ridiculous stamina, so it's super bulky. Some of you may have tested out Blissey in Go Battle League. Essentially, Greedent is just kind of like a Blissey. It's just super tanky because it has so much health. But the big problem is that you need to have it as an XL. It's a pure normal type. Pure normal types are weak to fighting, and then they only resist Ghosts. So you only resist Ghosts, which is this particular reason is why it's so good. Giratina Altered. And also its moveset. So for Greedent actually got a decent moveset with Bullet Seed, Body Slam, and Crunch. Because of this, Bullet Seed is able to take out Swampert, Body Slam gives you Stab, and then Crunch is able to take out things like Cresselia as well as Giratina Altered. So, why is Greedent good and why is it bad? We're about to find out. Alright, so here is the pvpoke.com rankings. As I always say, please consider contributing to pvpoke.com. So if we go to Open Ultra League and you type up Greedent, you literally get this really overpowered chickmunk thingy. It's really... Have you ever watched Alvin and Chipmunks? If you have, it's a really great movie and a really great series, but I don't think they play it that much anymore. So, Alvin and Chipmunks, it's basically, pretty much a Poke... If you turn them into a Pokemon, one of the chipmunks in Pokemon, it'd be a Greedent. So Greedent, as you see here, is able to beat Giratina, Altered, Swampert, Cresselia, Togekiss, and Lapras. So its ability to even, yes, Bullet Seed is resisted by Togekiss, but in the one shield you can Body Slam Togekiss to death just because Togekiss can't charm its way through a super thick, bulky Greedent. Bulk is king, and in Go Battle League, that's no different with this giant chickmunk. So the big thing about it is that you lose against a lot of fighters as well as this thing right here, Melmetal. So flyers, fighters will generally beat you for the most part. So will Alolan Muck, which because of the new Poison Jab buff got a little popular, as well as the Acid Spray buff. So if you look over here, Greedent's actually best used in the lead. It's good in all positions though, best in the lead. It can also use it as a switch and a closer. The only bad thing about Greedent is if you get it locked into a fighter because, you know, fighters beat the unholy crap out of normal type Pokemon. But Greedent is really good in a lot of positions. As you see, it takes really top ranks. And the lead for Greedent, if we look it up, it's number 20 overall. Beats the same thing as I mentioned before. As a switch, Greedent's also really good. It's even better as a switch, arguably. Just because if you get that safe switch or if you leave it in the back against things like Gear Altered, Swampert, Cresselia, which Gear Altered and Swampert are two popular things in the back, it beats them very handily, as you see here. And as a closer, Greedent isn't that powerful in the closer, but you can still beat what I mentioned before and some stuff that, like, you resist. For example, you resist Ghost type attacks because you are a normal type, so you will beat Snorlax pretty handily. But the problem with Greedent is, like I mentioned, is just fighters in general. As you see, its stat product is ridiculously high overall, right here. The good thing is Greedent has a relatively low charge move cost. I don't think that's going to make up for all the freaking Stardust you pump into it to level 50, but you know, it's a start. Alright, so here's the pvpoke.com matrix, part y'all probably all skip to. Here's the Ultra League meta to the right, Open Ultra League. And then here I have a Greedent that's max IVs for level 50. Or no, this is 115, 15. 315 15. 115 15 is level 51. So if you want a rank 1 level 50, it's 115 15, and for level 50 it's 51, and for 50 right here. I would prefer, you can best buddy it. There's not a lot of things in Open Ultra League that you can best buddy to make it better, unless it's like a Clefable, so Greedent is definitely a candidate if you plan on using it. And here's one that's default IVs. As you see, you can be like a little not picky with IVs. It doesn't matter too much based on the analysis, except for like one particular matchup. So IVs can matter for particular matchups, and I'll explain that then. But as you see here, I already ran the 2-shield, but the thing about Greedent and what makes Greedent kind of bad is that anything that resists Bullet Seed essentially beats Greedent. As you see here, Abomasnow, Charizard, Articuno, it will essentially beat, again, it'll beat it just because it resists Bullet Seed. In a few cases, which is one I'll talk about. And you're going to lose to all the fighting types. As I mentioned before, fighting types will kill you, so will things that do have fighting type moves. So fighting types and things that have fighting type moves. Like Melmetal. Melmetal and Registeel will punch you and blast you to death no matter what you want to do. So just anything that has fighting, you're in trouble. Just keep that in mind. Now, what makes it really bad as well is that, as you see here, Ulus gets a lot of combinations. More of the, like, not the top 3 in the lead. For example, Empoleon's a popular lead. Obstagoon, of course, is a popular lead as well. You lose against those leads. What makes Greedent really good is that it beats a lot of really good meta things. Obviously, I already talked about Giratina Altered, Cresselia, and Swampert in 2-Shield. You beat all 3 of those in the 2-Shield. With Cresselia having probably the worst rating for the 315-50 one, which is level 50, but you know what? 666, Devil's Number, you gotta take it. Duck's gotta die. Roasted Flying Jetson Duck sounds really good. Now, the cool thing in 2-Shield, you could also beat Gyarados. Just because Gyarados, anything that's not super bulky, like Gyarados, will fall. Which is why Gyarados, and as you see here, you could also beat Scizor. So some things that you outbulk, you can beat. Like I mentioned, even though Scizor does resist Bullet Seed, just because you are so bulky, you're able to take out Scizor, which is pretty much the only matchup that is super relevant. Other than that, you also beat things like Politoed XL, Alolan Ninetales XL, and Jellicent. So Greedent is also really good for the fact that it breaks the A9 Jelly Core. Well, this is the 2-Shield, so as you see here, it's also really iffy just because if you lag, you're gonna die basically. As you see here, Greedent, even though it's able to beat A9, a 5-10 rating is really close. So if you lag a little bit, you can probably bank on losing that matchup, sadly. But yes, this is what makes Greedent pretty dang good. As you see, it beats a whole bunch of things. Except, like I mentioned, for fighters, or generally things that resist Bullet Seed in the 2-Shield. Alright, now this is the part where IVs matter. As you see, I have the 1-Shield. I already ran the Matrix, but as you see here, 5, 14, 11. This is the default IV. So if you have a little bit of attack on your Greedent, you can take out Charmer. So in the 1-Shield, you can take out Clefable, and you can take out Togekiss. Now, this is really iffy, because 502 is a really close rating. If you're damaged just a little bit, Greedent will die. So this is assuming Greedent is fresh in the 1-Shield against a Wigglytuff and a Togekiss. And if nothing happens, that's bad. So, again, a little bit of attack can go a long way, but I just wouldn't bank on it. As you see, you will simultaneously you'll knock yourself out, or you will get taken out by Togekiss if you're using like the rank 1. So it's kind of bad, but because it's so close, I wouldn't bank on it anyways. Now, other notable things in the 1-Shield is that you beat generally what you're supposed to be in the 2-Shield. You'll beat Umbreon, Swampert. Politoed, Cresselia. You'll still beat both versions of Gear Altered, Shadow Claw, and Dragon Breath. So you'll still beat all of those. Now, the one thing that's really interesting is that you drop the, well, not really interesting because you lose, but it's the A9. So in the 1-Shield, you will drop the Alolan Ninetales matchup, as you see here, for both versions. So in the 2-Shield, you got a good shot. In 1-Shield, you don't. Other than that, that's the only interesting thing about the 1-Shield is the IVs, is that in this scenario, again, if you have a little bit of attack, you can beat Charmers. Do I recommend it? No. I'd rather just go for the highest rank you possibly can, because it's unlikely anything with a 504 matchup is going to really be accurate, because, like I said, just the way the battle will play out. So I would just go for the highest rank possible, just for that extra bulk. Alright, now for the 0-Shield, if you're in the zeros, the only thing that really happens is that you lose the Umbreon matchup here. However, you pick up Obama Snow, which depending on like what your opponent is playing can be good or bad. But as you see here, the zeros doesn't really change a lot of things, which is good. So the zeros is pretty solid. Now the good thing about the zeros is that you actually pick up you also pick up Dragon Breath Charizard. So you pick up like 2 relevant matchups that can be out there. Outside of that, it's actually kind of the same as the 2 in the 1-Shield. Outside of the ones I mentioned. Pretty generic. You're still going to lose against fighters. You're still going to die to a Registeel that Spirit Bombs you to death. If it summons its energy from its metal brothers and sisters, well, not really brothers and sisters, because, you know, it's like it's like genderless. Registeels are genderless, but, you know, it's Focus Blast hurts. That's all I gotta say. Alright, now here's the 1-0s. As you see here, Greedent actually blasts a lot of things if it's in the 1-0 scenario. So if you're in this scenario, you actually pick up a few things you would normally lose, like Deoxys Defense, Talonflame is a good one. Talonflame, you beat a lot of the meta. Generally, what you lose against is basically Skarmory XL, or you're gonna lose against fighters. Yes, it says here you beat Sirfetch'd with a level 51. I wouldn't bank on it for the reason I mentioned before, just because anything with like a 510, 520 rating is just way too close to call. So don't bank on this matchup. But in the 1-0s, as you see, Greedent is actually pretty dang powerful. Being able to flip things outside of, like I said, anything that has a fighting type move. You're still going to lose against Excavalier, because that's counter. You're still going to lose against Obstagoon. The only counter user you basically beat, I think, is just Deoxys defense, as you see here. So Deoxys defense XL will fall to a Greedent, which is pretty hilarious, just because of the whole, like, Greedent having so much HP. But outside of that, 1-0 is very powerful. In a 2-0, obviously Greedent's going to smash most of everything, except for Melmetal, which is actually pretty hilarious. Just because Melmetal charges superpower so fast, Melmetal will take out Greedent. But at the same time, what's really good about this matchup is that it's bait dependent. So you're gonna have to, it has to double bait you with Brockside. Otherwise, it's dead. So you can pretty much bank you're gonna beat Greedent in, you're gonna beat Melmetal you're gonna beat Mel in the 2-shield. Outside of that, you're going to beat most of everything in this matchup. Sadly, things like Registeel and Scrafty will still beat. So there's some things in this matchup that you will still, but it's just generally like 3. Which is Melmetal, Registeel, and Scrafty. Just bank you're going to lose against all 3 of those Pokemon, even if you have a 2-0 advantage. Now, if you have 2-1, so if you're at shield advantage, it's actually not that, it's actually like just as efficient as the like in the 2-0s are generally the same thing. You're still gonna lose against Machamp, you're still gonna lose against Melmetal, Registeel, and Scrafty. You pick up a few things like Ferrothorn XL, but like for the most part, it's not a lot of like Ferrothorn XL, but outside of that, there's not a lot of things that Greedent like will lose against. Some notable things though is Abomasnow, Articuno, and Empoleon, so like water and flyers, just those 2. But outside of that, as you see, if you have shield advantage, you're able to take out things like Toxicroak, etc. But just to be on the safe side, a general good thing to look at Greedent when you have shield advantage is that just bank on you're gonna lose against like most fighters. It's a safer way to say that, just because even though 446 isn't a high rating and Greedent is still gonna have a ton of HP, just keep in mind that fighters do heavy damage against normal type Pokemon, so this is why you want to be careful. But other than that, Greedent is still very, very powerful. Outside of a few matchups, the ones I mentioned, Abomasnow, Articuno, and Empoleon, Greedent does really well having shield advantage. And that's GG's. Hopefully you guys are decided on whether your Chipmunks are really, really good. It's really good for Open Ultra League. It's also useful for Ultra Premier, so I'll be putting that out as well. So, again, if you guys are really looking for something that's kind of interesting to use and readily, it's like, Greedent's like the Pidgey of Gen 8, basically. Well, not really, yeah, it's kind of like the Pidgey of Gen 8 in a sense, but the thing is, it's really, really good for Open Ultra League and for Ultra Premier, so it's a really great mon to use. The problem is, just with any XL, it's expensive, but outside of that, Greedent can be a great tool in the lead or the back for Open Ultra League. I wouldn't use it as a safe switch, just because if you get locked into a Machamp or an Obstagoon, which are also popular safe switches, it would, Obstagoon's a popular safe switch. It's gonna really freaking suck. So, if you want Alvin and the Chickmunks to be disbanded and be alone, and like, you want it to die, basically, just throw it into a fighter and it's gonna be mutilated. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Greedent is good for Ultra League. Definitely recommend if you want to use it, and if you want to really like do all the work for the XL version, definitely I would consider getting it, because like I said, it does really well in Open Ultra League and beats a lot of popular combinations. Outside of basically like just bank you're gonna lose against fighters, like I mentioned. So a great thing with Greedent would be Greedent as well as 2 fighter coverage are 2 things that are strong against the fighter type meta in Open Ultra League. Would it break the meta? Probably not. Not a lot of people are probably going to invest in a Greedent outside. Yeah, not a lot of people are going to invest in one, and like the lower ELOs for Greedent. So again, don't bank on it running around everywhere just because of how expensive it is. If you guys do me a huge favor, please like and subscribe. It's totally free. All you have to do, you see that box at the bottom right. All you have to do is mouse over it, and you can easily subscribe from there. I appreciate all my subscribers right now. Hopefully you guys are having a great day. Again, Greedent is actually really good, so if you're going to use it, it's not a bad idea. Well, for Open Ultra League anyways. Good luck on your Go Battle League sets, and I will see you guys on the next video.